Now, of course, I know you heard me speak on this probably a couple weeks ago, if that long, but it seems like the Clippers are going all in for the possibility of the trade for Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard requested a trade here in the last few days, or should I say a few days ago officially. And with that being said, there are quite a few teams on the move or on the call right now in regards to getting Damian Lillard. And the Clippers happen to be one of them. And along with, I think, yeah, you can speak on the Lakers and a few other teams, the Miami Heat and amongst other teams that are trying to get Damian Lillard. But for the most part, let's pay attention to the Clippers. The Clippers definitely have, the opportunity for a Damian Lillard to come there and, win a championship. I don't know who the Clippers would have to give up to get a Damian Lillard. Of course, in my mind, it would have to be more or less one of the two big pieces, being Kawhi being Kawhi or PG, is something that I think the Blazers will be willing to take, in regards to, getting a fair trade or getting equal value back. And, with that being said, I don't know if the Clippers, since the Clippers are in the running, for Damian Lillard, who knows what they have in mind in regards to, how they want to approach this situation, if the offer is, fruitful for them, or if it's something that they want to actually, go with. I personally think that if they do trade, it possibly might be, maybe, of course, one of the big guns, and they might actually add a pick or something like that in there as well, in which, that more or less would be what the Blazers are looking for. Because the Blazers, if they trade Damian Lillard, of course they're in 100% rebuild mode. They do got Shaedon Sharpe. He looks pretty good. They do got some other good pieces, Anthony Simons, and if they get a major player back or some really good pieces back in return, they would definitely go for that, I think. So it'll be interesting, with the Clippers. I definitely would say it's interesting because, like I said, I really would be interested to see what they'd be willing to give up, to get like a Damian Lillard. Now, if they didn't give away one of their big pieces, of course, they would have to give away probably a good portion or a decent amount of their depth. And I just don't know if that's what the Clippers would want to do. But, I mean, hey, when you're going all in for a player like Damian Lillard, you definitely take that chance, if you're most organizations. And I understand that. I just don't necessarily agree with it. So with that being said, we have to see what happens in regards to what offers are being put on the table. If I were the Clippers, I would try to eke by or slide by, telling them, hey, I'll give you, Marcus Morris, maybe like maybe a Zubac or, somebody like that with a future pick for Damian Lillard or something like that. Maybe not necessarily Zubac, maybe Mason Plumlee or, somebody off the bench or something like that. I definitely wouldn't try to give up too much of my depth if I were the Clippers. I would offer them, something very good in return, with a pick or two, if a future pick, what the Clippers will have. And maybe Marcus Morris and, like I said, maybe a Mason Plumlee, or if they want a Zubac or something like that, I would possibly think about that as well. But either way, like I said, I mean, it has to be something of that nature type trade for me. It couldn't be something like, I'll give you the Clippers get rid of Paul George, Marcus Morris, and somebody like, maybe not Norman Powell, but like somebody like T-Man off the bench or something like that. That would be way too much to me for somebody like Damian Lillard. Even though Damian Lillard is a superstar, don't get me wrong, but I just wouldn't give up. I wouldn't mortgage, my future or my chances of winning a championship for one player by giving up way too much depth, or giving up one of my superstar players and a portion of my depth, in which that's probably what, Portland's probably going to want back. They're going to want back enough to where they feel comfortable with what they have or what they're getting, or the production they will get from the pieces they acquire from whatever team they trade with. And they might be asking for too much. You never know, because Damian Lillard is their whole everything. So they might be asking for the house, basically. And if they're asking for a whole lot like that, if I were the Clippers, I would just, either back out or make them a offer in which to, something of the likes of, the examples I just gave you or something like that. You don't have to necessarily be quite that, but I mean, something like, remotely close to it, because that way the Clippers are not losing too much for one guy who is a little bit older and, a little injury prone himself. Not really injury prone, I would say Dame Lillard is, but the last couple seasons, Dame Lillard's been, dealing with some injuries and stuff too. So my thing is, you don't want to trade away too much to get one guy, even though he's a superstar, and he gets injured for some reason, like your other two superstars. Then you got a big three that's injury prone, and you still don't win a championship. Whereas, like, if you keep a lot of your depth and a lot of your, talent on your team, where you're able to be a little bit less predictable offensively and have a lot of pieces, moving pieces in and out that can score, put up points, it takes a lot of pressure off your main guys. And, it builds a lot of continuity with guys that play, all in, and guys who are playing, who feel like they're actually playing a role, playing a part. So that's why it's good to have a good bench and a lot of good role players like that, because guys are willing to play their part and do their best in what their role is. You can go a lot further. You can go just as far and win a championship possibly. I mean, we saw what happened with the Miami Heat this year. Jimmy Butler and a bunch of unsigned, undrafted guys, all of them playing their role to within their ability. The only problem is Jimmy Butler is not a superstar, was the reason why they didn't win the championship. If Jimmy Butler was a superstar who can drop 25, 30 every single night consistently, not just at times here and there or in the playoffs, then they probably would be the NBA champions, because their defense was good enough to beat Denver. Their offense just wasn't. So this is my point. When you got guys that's playing together with, good role players, you can win. And that's the one thing I think the Clippers have over a lot of teams. They have a really good, supporting cast, really good supporting cast. They end up giving up letting go of Eric Gordon, but I mean, they still got, a lot of great pieces. They really do. I mean, giving up Aaron Gordon really it was a mistake to me, to a degree, but I mean, with so much depth that they have on their team, as long as they don't get rid of all of it and, for a wasted opportunity, I mean, they still are a very deep team, and they still will be very, very tough to deal with if you had to face them in a 7-game series. So if healthy. So, I mean, regardless, they got to keep most of their depth if they really want to win this thing, because their superstars are not as healthy as they once were possibly. And, you need all the depth and help you can get from everywhere on the team completely, so it could take less pressure off the star players. Now, of course, if they can get somebody like Dame Lillard, well, that'd take a lot of pressure off Kawhi and PG. I mean, that would just be ultimately great. But I don't know if I personally think if they did trade for Dame Lillard, they might have to, trade PG, because I've heard reports and things where I've heard that Paul George and Dame Lillard really don't get along or something like that. I've heard some reports like that. Of course, I don't know how true that is, but if that is the case, then they would have to trade Paul George probably, or think about it, since them two really don't mesh well or something like that. So we would see. We have to see how it goes. But either way, it's not a foregone conclusion where the Clippers can get Damian Lillard. It's just going to be a tough one because the Clippers definitely have to, really think about, whether they want to give up a whole lot for a player like this and sacrifice their depth, or will they rather just go after a big three and just go all in, and hopefully, this turns into a championship this year if they decide to make a trade with Portland, if Portland, replies. But hey, leave any comments in the comment section either way, and let me know what you think, and we'll talk about it.